Hey, all, welcome to my channel. Today, I think most of you who are VDR fans have already watched the episode on Wednesday. It's kind of interesting to see, to be quite honest. I don't have much to say about it, except the fact that since the news breaking about Sandoval and um, Rachel, or Raquel, however you want to call it, um, a lot of people are coming out of the woodworks and starting to you know, talk smack about them, which rightfully so. But some of them, it falls into the line of the kettle calling the pot. Specifically Lala, I guess, in one aspect. I mean, granted, yeah, there's one perspective is it's like she was cheated on, makes absolute sense. But at the same time, honestly, the fact that she knew that James and Rachel were in a relationship, and she still slept with James. Now, I don't know the entirety of the story of that exactly as to how that came about. It could have been James that initiated, or it could have been Lala, whatever it may be. But that aspect of like her coming against Rachel in that episode was interesting. The fact that Rachel did make a pass at the time at Schwartz. Now the question comes down to is like, why should it matter? At this moment in time, Schwartz and um, Katie are pretty much divorced at this point, quite honestly. And the other factor is let's not forget, Katie had already shacked up with someone or hooked up with someone at this point. Uh, One of her longtime friends or longtime classmates, I guess. I don't know exactly what it is, but Sheena was even saying, like, she even called it out. So the fact that they're both coming out at Rachel for going after a single man now makes no sense. Now, granted, it's a case where in this situation, Schwartz, the fact that he cheated on Katie, um, that's something on him basically. That's a big thing issue with me at one point. But at the same time, at least he sort of semi respected Katie's wishes, where at the time saying basically like, hey, look, you know, I don't mind if you go dating with other people, but just don't date in our friend pool. Schwartz pretty much, turned her down. But from Rachel's perspective, I mean, it's a case where, like, you know what? It's a single guy. She wants to make out with someone. She was drunk, but she wants to make out with someone, and there he was. He was this newly single guy. I don't know why first Lala had an issue with it. I mean, quite honestly, the fact is, like, she hooked up with James while Rachel and, James were dating. Or maybe in a relationship. I don't know exactly the entirety of that exactly. But at the same time, it's more of a case where like then she goes in for Katie and basically it's like, Rachel, why are you going after Katie's man? I'm like, the guy's single at this point, so why does it matter? Why does it matter? Now I understand at the same time it's like, all right, they're freshly newly divorced, but at the same time, let's not forget, if this is true, Katie did hook up with another guy earlier on, and Shayna basically knows about it and was telling everyone about it practically. So I don't understand where it comes out to. What's the whole issue? I mean, like, it's I tell you what it is. It's pretty much a double standard. That's what it's coming down to. Basically, it's a double standard. Now, granted, Layla, Lala, or Lauren in this case, I'm just going with their names. Lauren in this case was actually right to the point where they're like, you know what, she was cheated on. So at the same time, it's like she's by her definition, she's seeing Rachel as more of an opportunist trying to move forward, which is true because let's not forget Rachel was not with the group from the beginning. The only way she got into the group was introduction via James. Basically, she was with James, and she basically got introduced through James with the group, and now her popularity has sort of as a result, or her fame has sort of as a result. So that's one thing. So the whole Katie, Lala, Rachel thing from a Schwartz perspective, that's something that we can say that there's more of a double standard more than anything else in that aspect. That's pretty much what it is. That's a double standard. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. It's plain and simple, right there. It's a double standard because like they can, oh well, it's wrong for her to go. Why? So it's okay for Katie to hook up with a guy, but it's not okay for Schwartz to hook up with anyone. And for that man, in the dating pool. I mean, honestly, I just started watching literally the first episode of VanderPump VDR today. the first episode of season one actually, and Peter described it perfectly. Like almost everyone hooked up with everyone at that, and like even Lisa says like, "Hey, look, what am I gonna do? Everyone's gonna sleep. What am I gonna do? Fire people for sleeping with each other? I mean, like if that's the case, I would have no employees." So they all slept with each other. So I don't know what the big deal is at that point. Honestly, quite honestly, that was gonna happen. Why that's happening now? Still, it's beyond me. I mean, they've got this fame. They're living in L.A. L.A. of all places, California, Hollywood, and they can't find enough, enough people outside of the pool for some reason. They had to go inside the pool. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Um, so that's that perspective. So like again, the Katie, Lala, Rachel situation from the perspective of Schwartz, that's a double standard from Katie's aspect. I mean, Katie's pure double standards. Now, granted, she was cheated on, so by all means, you know, Schwartz probably shouldn't have that luxury of hooking up with anyone. She should. She should because I mean honestly, Schwartz should not have that luxury. But at the same time, the guy's single, so at this point, it's fair game at that point for him, anyways. Quite honestly. But in any case, now coming back to this whole Sandoval, Rachel, Schwartz thing. Um, in the Watch What Happens Live, um, Katie basically calls out saying that, like she thinks Schwartz was probably duped or played by both Rachel and Sandoval. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like I said in my one of my earlier videos about this, um, was he played? I don't know. If he was, it's too hard to say that if he was because this seems like a case where like Sandoval must have known. I think Sandoval must have known for sure. He even said he knew a month beforehand. Anyways, he openly admitted that he knew a month beforehand, or there was talk of him mentioning that he knew a month beforehand. Now, like the reports out there, I don't know if it came directly from his mouth, but that's what it is. Um, the question is like, if Sandoval knew, but just knew, that is. Now, of course, this is just knowing, not actually uh, participating or helping him out in certain aspects, but just knowing. I don't think he had the obligation to tell Ariana, to be quite honest. I mean, it's a case from this perspective. Remember, Sandoval and Schwartz are friends. Schwartz and Ariana were truly not friends, quite honestly, from my understanding. It was Schwartz and Sandoval. So by that aspect, Schwartz has his loyalty towards Sandoval over Ariana. Now, if he was still married to Katie, I think by that point he would have to have told Katie. I mean, if he wasn't married to Katie, he had no obligation to tell anyone. The real question is like, did he help orchestrate all this, and did he like help cover up or cover for Sandoval, knowing full well what was going on? If it is, that is a douchey move at that point. That is a douchey move at that point. Even to the point where like, if he was actively taking the participation of the distraction part, that was also a douchey move. But at the same time, is the case where Sandoval fully aware of this? Like I said, I think in the beginning, I think he knew. I honestly think he knew. If he didn't know, then he must be some kind of fool or some kind of idiot. Which, so far, what I'm seeing in season one, kind of is in a ways. Uh, but honestly, I think more of a case where like this is a case where again with Schwartz, if Schwartz knew, the question is, did he participate? If he didn't participate in it, like try to cover up or cover for Sandoval, the question is like, if he just knew it, only knew, and that's it. Like it's like, all right, he's aware of it. He can't do much about it. He's not going to say anything about it. I mean, you can't fault him for that. I mean, the backlash is going to be on him for that because if he knew, they're like, well, why didn't you tell him? Who is he going to tell? Who is he going to tell? Ariana? It's not his place to tell Ariana because he's not good friends with Ariana. If he's really good friends with Ariana, okay. Honestly, if he was friends with Ariana first before Sandoval, okay, then yeah, that's a different story. But in reality, let's not forget, he was friends first with Sandoval before Ariana. So it comes down to this is basically he wasn't really obligated to tell anyone at that point. And honestly, if he was married to Katie and he didn't tell Katie, then yeah, that's a different story altogether as well too. I mean, you have to tell your wife. But the fact that he wasn't married to her at this point, there was no need for it at that point. Honestly, he was going through other emotional stuff at this point as well too, like going through a divorce and all that stuff. But at the same time, let's not forget the guy also cheated as well too. So like, honestly, it's more of a case where like he should have learned from that. I think if he tried to impart some wisdom towards Sandoval's like, hey, look, man, I cheated on my wife. I didn't want to. It was a mistake on my part. Or like, two, this is gonna be messy. Trust me, get out in the open very quickly. Okay, and I have a feeling that's possibly what he did. Basically, is more of a case he probably was aware of some aspect and tried to tell Sandoval basically, hey, look, you've got to get in front of this, or it's gonna come out, and if it comes out, it's gonna be messy. Um, Now, the perspective of like there are rumors now, there are true rumors going about, which I don't know if it's true or not. Now, rumors going about on the internet and everywhere. It's a possibility that Lisa Vanderpump was aware of this. How far she knew of this, it's unknown, but it's being said that she was aware of this to the point where like she kind of was pushing it or encouraging him to still keep doing this because one of the aspects is if this came out, she knew this would be a scandal. If this was a scandal, she knew the ratings would be up there. And honestly, let's not push comes to shove, the ratings were no longer there by season 10. Actually, let's no listen about it. Basically, the ratings were not there at this point. I think once I'm kind of curious to see once the news hit what the ratings for this past Wednesday's episode was 315 on March 15th, 2023. If the ratings were much higher than normal, I think this was well orchestrated at that point as well too. So this could be a case where like maybe Lisa Vanderpump could have helped orchestrate this thing at this point as well too. It was more of a case where like maybe for Tom Sandoval's perspective, that he was getting the rush. From Rachel's perspective, this is a aspect of she's going after a guy. I mean, we've seen basically her in her like her element basically where she goes for more of the popular person basically, and like the person that everyone's going around and like everyone's gravitating towards, she's going towards that person, she's going to go after him basically. And again, Sandoval, this is probably more of a rush type of thing, an adrenaline rush or something like that, I don't know. I don't think this is a case where like I mean, I don't even know if his love for Ariana was lost or was waning. I mean, it's possible. I gotta watch some of the other episodes, but honestly, we're not going to see it in the episodes anyways, I think. But there were something along those lines where, the dog had died in this past episode, and Ariana was like more broken up about it, and Schwartz wasn't really helping her console her or anything like that. So that must mean that something was going on at that point. It must mean that, you know, they weren't their relationship wasn't as tight as it probably was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Um, and or 7 years ago for that matter, to be quite honest. So that's kind of interesting. Um, so now the question does come down to is like it's not only how, if Schwartz knew, but also did Lisa Vanderpump know at this point as well too? And like I said, there are stories out there, rumors going about that she knew. The question is if she did know. Honestly, I would not put it past her in this aspect. I mean, more for the aspect of knowing full well that they needed the ratings to keep the Bravo show in place. And quite honestly, let's not forget Lala even says like, oh no, they Rachel and Tom, Sandoval and Schwartz for that matter, they should all still be in the show for next season if there's a next season. And I'm like, wait, what? And you realize why they should be in that next season is because you're going to get more people to watch at that point. I mean, like honestly, let's not forget like this whole scandal now that's coming about. It's become semi newsworthy at this point, like where ET and Extra are like reporting on it, and TMZ of course as well too. I'm like you're like wondering. I was like, okay, it's getting a little bit more bigger than it should be. Why is it getting more bigger than it should be? It's because the fact is like I think the aspect of like I don't think it's the persona aspect per se. I think it's more of the case where like everyone's thinking like oh the fact that Sandoval and Ariana's relationship was the longest lasting relationship in the series, but something was up at that point when something like that happens, and you were in a series like this, something's going to go down. The other aspect I think is more of a case where why this is happening is the fact that is like this is all happening while Bravo was taping all this stuff and they weren't even aware about it. I think that's what the whole big publicity is about is the fact that like this was right under Bravo's of the producers and the film crew's noses, and they weren't even aware of it. And that's what's I think the shocking factor about it, that they were able to get away with this right when there's films. The film crew was there and all that stuff too. So that's I think the biggest thing I think that plays a big factor into this. And also stories about like I have a feeling like seeing Jax, Stassi, and Kirsten, and any other Lala Lee or whatever her name is. I'm sorry, Laylee. Sorry. There's a possibility that some of these people might be coming back. Granted, I've heard story. Like I don't know the entirety of. I mean, I've heard from my wife about like why Stassi and Kirsten were pretty much kicked off. Jax, of course, was kicked off, but you know what? Seeing what it is now, some of them might want to come back because, like, the next season, if these two are still going to be there, Rachel and Tom Sandoval, I think everyone's going to tune in for the next season at that point as well. Like, they want to see what's happening, what's going on. Whoa, we got to see this and all that stuff. I think everyone's also. I mean, also the other factors. I think it'd be pretty impressive and incredible if they can get all the former people that were part of VDR to come in for the after show. That would be pretty interesting as well too, to see what happens there, because like Jax has been going off considerably, as well as not only James and Lala, but Jax has been going off. Honestly, there were some, he does get some brownie points for knowing that like who's the number one person in the show now, VDR, that number one person, and he actually straight up said it. It was like it's all Ariana at this point. It's all Ariana, and so far I think it is the case, because like he even says basically like, why would there be a team? There's only Ariana at this point. There is no team Ariana. There shouldn't be a team Ariana. It should just be all Ariana, because there should be no what side are you on, because like that these two are on the wrong and she's the one that's heartbroken and broken up. So like it should be on like that should be in that aspect. So they're given points for that at that point. But again, this is like something that's I think taking a lot more. I think as time progresses, it's going to be interesting to see how much of this is going to be milked, because let's not forget, you could milk it as much as you possibly can, but the question is how much are they going to milk it? Because the thing is like like the cast members right now, they have their own, each one has their own podcast. They're probably going to go crazy, and of course some of them are going on other podcasts as well. So I mean, you're seeing Peter Madrigal going on a bunch of podcasts, as well as probably other former cast members as well too. It's like, oh, I knew about that. Like Jax is going about like, hey, look, I've told you about this about Sounding from the beginning. No one wants to listen, but he even said straight up, it's like everything I've said so far about everyone has no one believed me at that time, but they're all coming to light now. You're saying what I said was true. It's possible. Like I said, I've only seen season 1, episode 1. Let's see the rest of the seasons. I'll see what happens from there. But in that aspect, I think people are going to milk this up and getting a little bit more famous as they possibly can, or get that aspect of getting a little bit more famous. I mean, quite honestly, like everyone's making money off of this for sure. Honestly, I wouldn't mind making money off this as well too. Like that's what I'm talking about right now too. Honestly, to gain the viewership, gain the subscribers, and gain some monetary values from this as well too, if that's possible. Or would I ever have them and talk to them? No. Honestly, there would be no reason to talk to him about this. Honestly, to be quite honest, why would I talk about a bunch of like servers? Quite honestly, some of them are probably hamming it up for the TV basically at this point. Honestly, because like again, coming back to the first episode, she even says like, I hope to come here not to memorize a new menu, but more of being famous, like coming out here for fame basically. Same thing for Kirsten, same thing for Katie, same thing for Stassi and such. They're all coming out for the fame and they are getting the fame because of the show, Vanderpump Rules. And quite honestly, let's give Lisa Vanderpump, I'll give Lisa Vanderpump some props. I honestly didn't know that the fact that she was on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and from that led to this. That's massively impressive, to be quite honest. I mean, like, I thought it was more of a case where, like, you had Queen Bee, supposedly, quote unquote, Queen Bee, Bethany, being the housewife, the queen housewife. But I think in reality it comes down to Lisa Vanderpump. She was it's not entirely sure, was that Bethany was able to like get a talk show, and she was, a little bit more famous at this point as well too. So it's a question of like who gets what at this point, honestly. But the question is, Lisa Vanderpump still has some restaurants. She has now a restaurant in Vegas too, so she's growing out, expanding out. Don't be surprised if she has a restaurant opening up in New York sometime soon. I think that's one of the things that she's trying to break into, to New York as well too, and Miami. Don't be surprised when she expands out to Miami and essentially New York, the biggest place of all for restaurants when it comes to restaurants, for cuisine for that matter. Um, so there's that perspective, okay. And now the other aspect is of course, like I said, Lala herself. I mean, honestly, it sucks what happened to her. I hate to say it, but yeah, it really sucks to happen. What happened to her? I mean, supposedly there were signs about what was going on. She just refused to believe. But you know what? I think I can understand from her perspective because, quite honestly, if you're truly in love, sometimes you just ignore the signs. And I think Ariana, there probably were signs. She just wasn't aware of it because like she was just too much in love with Tom. But there are probably a lot of other things that were going on that she was just not too focused to see those signs. I think going back, she might see it's like, God, why did I not see that sign? It was right there, right in front of me. How did I not see it? Why? Because one, love; two, distracted with work, ventures; and three, distracted with family matters or personal issues and all that stuff too. So that also plays a big factor at that point as well too. Um, so I mean, back to Lala. Yeah, sorry, I went off into digressing with Lala. So it kind of sucks for her, and you know what? It sucks for her situation, but at the same time, you could tell about the situation, about the Oliver situation, where both Rachel and Lauren basically were pretty much into him. I think Lauren was pissed off and going after Rachel because the fact is like this guy basically rejected Lauren and went for Rachel. And Lauren being Lauren, like she's like her motto is like, hey, look, anyone after me, it's a step down. So why would you reject me? Honestly, she may or may not be all that. I don't know. That's up to whomever. I don't really give it 2 cents about that. So I'm trying to clean it up here, trying to keep it clean here. But it's more of a case where she's got to get over herself. I mean, she says, "Oh, I mean, I have an ego." Of course, she has an ego, but she is definitely narcissistic as well too. She calls Tom a narcissist. She's definitely a narcissist as well too. Straight up a narcissist. She reminds me from like I said, watching episode one of episode season one, episode one. She reminds me a little bit of Stassi as well too, like that same attitude basically. Except at least Stassi was a little bit more brighter than her. Um, and of course, I hate to say this, well, like the ratchetness out of that comes out of their mouths. I mean, I am shocked. But I think it's more of a case where like this is them. I mean, like I don't know. But honestly, if this is, I have a feeling that they probably dialed it up a notch. Of course, for the cameras, of course too, and for the fans. And if I at one point I'm gonna say this. At one point, I wasn't a huge reality show fan outside of Big Brother and moreover for Amazing Race. I thought Amazing Race was much great because you had to use your smarts, wits, and it was about travel. You're traveling around the world, traveling the globe, which is great. I wasn't a fan of Kim, the Kardashians, keeping up with the Kardashians. Quite honestly, I didn't watch it at all. The only times I did watch it was like for at that time Bruce Jenner, and then when what's his name? Crap, I forgot the dude's name. The USC player that Kardashian went out with. I honestly forgot his name now. I forgot the USC Trojan's name. I, I gotta look it up. I'm sorry. This is something that's gonna eat at me for known reasons. Kim Kardashian USC player. Reggie Bush. Sorry, Reggie Bush. Um, Whoa, I had no idea she was actually dating Cristiano Ronaldo. That's a little bit of a surprise. Okay, but honestly, yeah, I only saw like maybe a couple episodes here when Reggie Bush was on the show. because I mean he was a UC player at that time. He was a Heisman Trophy winner, and then of course going on, he was getting drafted by the New Orleans Saints. I'm like, all right, this is interesting, and like he was like, hey, look, got to see what his reaction is, and then of course watching that one episode of Kanye meeting, uh, 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 oh, what's um, Caitlyn Jenner. That's right. Sorry. Uh, uh, Seeing Kanye meeting Caitlyn Jenner for the first time versus Bruce Jenner, it was kind of interesting to see in that aspect as well too. But quite honestly, I think that was the only times I did see it, and I was like, there was no need for me to watch this show. I'm like, it made no sense to me whatsoever, no sense whatsoever. And I think in this case with Vanderpump Rules, I mean, I did watch maybe some Housewives here and there once in a while, but some of it made sense, some of it made absolutely no sense. I'm like, what? Why? I didn't really care. But in this case of VDR, it's I gotta admit it's pretty interesting and it's in itself. But then I realized like what is my life interesting enough like these people basically? Would my life be interesting as these people, or such? Would our or not our my life but our lives? Would that be as more interesting as these people for that matter? I mean, honestly, I don't know. I would say yes. I would say no. It's hard to say. Could I ham it up for the camera? Oh, by all means, easily. I could like play off whatever type of character to the cameras on reality TV. I could play. Honestly, I would love to be playing the villain. To be quite honest, I'd love to play the jerk, the jackass, the douche, the a hole. It'd be fun to play that role. Basically, like in reality, I don't want to say I'm always like that, but yeah, there are times where I can be like that. But I'd love to play that character basically, playing that in a reality show with that perspective. And I love the cameras to like if the editors want to play it off like that, let's play it off like that. I'll give them stuff that they need at that point. To be quite honest, but yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it at that. To be quite honest, because like I'm already 27 minutes into this thing. I'm like I've gone beyond what I should be going over basically. So this is like a little bit more surprise more than anything else. To be quite honest, of me talking about this more than I should. But I'll say this. Like I said, I am curious to see what the ratings are for this past Wednesday's episode, as well as what would happen live episode as well too. I'd love to see what the ratings were for that episode basically, and I would love to see what the ratings are going to be for the after show basically. For the reunion show, I'm sorry, not the after show, but the reunion show. I would love to see what the ratings would be for the reunion show, specifically how many people are going to be there, who's going to be there, and all that stuff. Andy Cohen is definitely going to have his A game on because, like, I actually did see the Housewives of Miami reunion, part two, and put it plainly, I didn't really see the entire the season, or I didn't see all of Housewives of Miami seasons 1 through 5. But I can say this: watching that episode and watching Lala Pippen, no, Lala Pippen, I forgot her name, whatever her name is, Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, the one that's dating Marcus Jordan now, uh, and all the stuff that was going on. I'm like, what the? I mean, the fact that she called off the doctor and like saying, like saying basically you slept with every doctor in the hospital, and they said, "Oh, I didn't say you slept." I said, I heard," and I'm saying like I'm telling you, it's being said that I heard someone say. I'm like, no, you're saying it. You're trying to basically get a rile out of her, and you hate her basically because she's a doctor, while you're an OnlyFans person. And the fact that she's like, well, at least I have a job, at least I have a real job. I'm like, wait, OnlyFans is a real job? I'm like, yeah, it could be, but you got a doctor who saves lives. I mean, she's an anesthesiologist, but again, still someone that's there for the betterment of people, basically. So honestly, you don't attack a doctor's profession at that point, as far as like saying that it's not a job in such manner. Um, but in any case, yes. Sorry. Uh, Going from that, this is an interesting factor of like what the reunion show. It's going to be interesting to see what the ratings for the reunion show will be, because if it is very high, then the question does come out: was this a semi? I mean, the other factor is like rumors are going about. Some people are conjecturing that what their love may not be real, but do not be surprised if Rachel's pregnant by the end of the year. Um, It's a strong possibility as well. Too. I could see possibly that. I mean, you're 8 months into this already at this point. It could probably. She could be probably. Will they be? Will they be married? I doubt it. Will they? Will she be pregnant? Strong possibility. I could see her trying to getting a kid out of him basically for this, so that she could further her career at this point. Let's. I wouldn't put it past her. Quite honestly, I would not put it past her. Again, let's not forget. Rachel came on to the show via James. She did not know, and she even openly admitted she was a fan of the show when it first came out. She had to have been like what 18 or 19 at the time when it first came out. So let's not forget she was a fan of the show. She purposely came after James, knowing full well who he was, went after him, and she is an opportunist. Let's not forget that she is. But you know what? Let's. I'm not going to say she's the only opportunist on there. Everyone on that show is an opportunist. Everyone is on that show is an opportunist, plain and simple. Um, but outside of that, yeah, I'm kind of curious what it is. Let me know your thoughts. Please leave a comment in the comment section, like or dislike. It's up to you, and please subscribe as well too. Um, the more the merrier as well, and also the aspect is like as you comment, if you have your own I'd love to like discuss this with other people as well too. I mean, honestly, would I have these people on to talk with them? No. But would I take with other fans? Oh yeah, by all means, I would love to talk to them one-on-one and such, or group on a group video chat or something like that. But anyways, yeah, please leave a comment, let me know your thoughts. Do you think this is well orchestrated? By could Lisa have known and also maybe push this and egg this on a little bit more, knowing full what that they if this came about, that the show's ratings would go up at that point. The other aspect is as well too, Ariana found out through the phone itself, but the real question is like, why did she go there? She said she had this feeling. I don't think the fact that she had this feeling, I think someone might have given her a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that, hey, you might want to look into his phone. Question is, who? If it was Lisa, okay. I mean, like I said, I think we're going to find out more and more information 2 months down the line, within 2 months, basically. And let's not forget, I have a feeling, like I said, we're hearing about Tom being unfaithful to, Ariana with Rachel. I have a feeling within the past 10 years, you're going to see a lot more stories coming out about him being unfaithful to her at that point as well, too. In any case, like I said, please let me know your thoughts. Give me any feedback, whatever it may be. Leave them in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. I'll try to. I do read my comments. I do respond to them. And if anything, we could have like a dual discussion about this, or not dual, but a discussion about this on video as well. So that'd be great to do that one of these days, specifically about this. Maybe sort of create a podcast type of aspect of nature for this particular show, or for this particular reason for that matter. But in any case, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and unrehearsed. Until next time.